The power of consistency is one of the most underrated forces in human life, yet it is the foundation of every meaningful achievement. Every great success story, whether it belongs to an athlete, a student, an entrepreneur, or an ordinary individual, striving for a better life is built on repeated actions performed over time. Consistency is not loud, it does not demand attention, and it rarely produces immediate results, yet it quietly shapes destinies and transforms potential into reality. A world that celebrates instant success, quick results, and overnight fame. Many people lose sight of the truth that lasting achievement requires steady effort. Social media often highlights the final moment of victory, but hides the years of struggle, discipline, and persistence that came before it. This creates a false perception that success happens quickly when, in reality, it is the outcome of consistent effort applied day after day without visible reward. Consistency is not about doing extraordinary things once. It is about doing ordinary things repeatedly with commitment and focus. It is about waking up every day and choosing to move forward even when motivation is low, even when progress feels slow, and even when results are invisible. This daily decision to act builds momentum, and that momentum eventually leads to transformation. Consider a simple example of a student preparing for exams. A student who studies a little every day builds a deep understanding of concepts and retains knowledge effectively. On the other hand, a student who studies only occasionally or crams at the last moment struggles to keep up. The difference between the two is not intelligence or talent, but consistency. The same principle applies in every area of life, including health, relationships, career, and personal development. The power of consistency lies in its ability to compound. Small actions, when repeated over time, create significant results. A person who exercises for 30 minutes daily may not notice a change in a week or even a month, but over a year, the transformation becomes undeniable. Similarly, a person who saves a small amount of money regularly builds financial security over time. These examples highlight a simple truth: that consistency turns small efforts into big outcomes. However, consistency is not easy. It requires discipline, patience, and the ability to overcome distractions and setbacks. There will be days when motivation fades, when obstacles arise, and when giving up seems easier than continuing. In those moments, consistency becomes a choice rather than a habit. It is the decision to continue despite difficulties that separates those who achieve their goals from those who abandon them. Another important aspect of consistency is that it shapes identity. A person who writes every day becomes a writer. A person who practices a skill daily becomes skilled. A person who consistently chooses positive actions becomes a disciplined and focused individual. Over time, these repeated actions define who we are and influence how we see ourselves and how others perceive us. Consistency also builds trust and credibility. In relationships, people value those who are reliable and dependable. In professional life, employers and colleagues respect individuals who deliver consistent results. In personal growth, consistency strengthens self-confidence because each completed action reinforces the belief that progress is possible. This creates a cycle where consistent effort leads to small wins, and those wins motivate further effort. It is important to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. Mistakes, failures, and setbacks are part of the journey. The goal is not to be perfect every day, but to keep going despite imperfections. Missing a day or facing a setback does not erase progress. What matters is the ability to return to the path and continue moving forward. The journey of consistency is often invisible to others, and sometimes even to ourselves. Progress can feel slow and discouraging, especially in the beginning. This is where patience becomes essential. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a tree, consistent effort requires time to produce visible results. Those who understand this principle remain committed even when they do not see immediate success. In reality, consistency is a powerful equalizer. It can bridge the gap between talent and achievement. It can turn average abilities into exceptional skills. It can transform dreams into tangible outcomes. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is often not talent or intelligence, but the willingness to stay consistent over time. This work explores the true power of consistency in depth. It is not just a motivational concept, but a practical and realistic approach to achieving goals and improving life through examples, insights, and real-life applications. It aims to show how consistency influences every aspect of human experience and why it is essential for long-term success. As you move forward through this journey, you will begin to see that consistency is not just a habit, but a way of thinking and living. It is the quiet force that drives progress, builds resilience, and creates lasting change. Understanding and applying the power of consistency can transform not only what you achieve, but also who you become. Chapter 1. Understanding consistency. Consistency is one of the simplest ideas to understand, yet one of the hardest to practice. It is not something hidden or complex. It does not require special talent or extraordinary intelligence. It only demands one thing: the willingness to keep going. Every day, every moment, every situation tests this willingness, because consistency is not built in comfort. It is built in repetition, discipline, and patience. Many people believe that success depends on big actions, bold moves, or sudden breakthroughs. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect motivation to begin. However, reality shows a different picture. Success is rarely about doing something big once. It is about doing something small again and again without stopping. The power of consistency lies in its quiet nature. It works in the background, slowly shaping results, while most people are distracted by quick outcomes. To understand consistency deeply, one must first understand time. Time is the field where consistency operates. Every action, whether small or large, gets multiplied. When repeated over time, a single drop of water seems insignificant, but when it falls continuously on the same spot, it can carve stone. This is not because the drop is powerful, but because it is consistent. In the same way, human effort becomes powerful only when it is repeated without interruption. Consider the example of a young boy who decides to learn how to draw. On the first day, his drawings are not perfect. They may look rough, uneven, and incomplete. If he judges himself based on that single day, he might feel discouraged and give up. But if he chooses to draw every day, even for a short time, something begins to change. His hand becomes more stable, his understanding improves, and his confidence grows. After months of practice, his drawings begin to reflect skill and creativity. What changed was not his talent overnight, but his consistency over time. Consistency is often confused with intensity. Many people start with great intensity. They work hard for a few days or weeks, pushing themselves to the limit. But this intensity is difficult to maintain and eventually fades. When intensity fades, inconsistency begins and progress stops. Consistency, on the other hand, does not require extreme effort. It requires steady effort. It is better to take small steps daily than to take large steps occasionally. Small steps create rhythm, and rhythm creates progress. Another important aspect of consistency is commitment. Commitment means continuing the process even when feelings change. Motivation is temporary. It rises and falls depending on mood, environment, and circumstances. But consistency is built on commitment, not motivation. A person who relies only on motivation will stop when motivation disappears. A person who is committed will continue, even when they do not feel like doing the work. This is where real growth begins. Consistency also teaches discipline. Discipline is the ability to act according to purpose rather than emotion. It is easy to work when everything feels right, when energy is high, and when results are visible. But true discipline shows itself when things are difficult, when progress is slow, and when there is no immediate reward. In those moments, Consistency becomes a test of character. It asks a simple question: will you continue, or will you stop? In real life, consistency can be seen in every successful journey. A farmer does not plant seeds and expect crops the next day. He waters the field regularly, takes care of the soil, and protects the plants from harm day after day. He follows the same routine without seeing immediate results. Yet he trusts the process because he understands that growth takes time. Eventually, the crops grow and the harvest comes. This is the natural reward of consistent effort. Similarly, a person who wants to improve their physical health must follow a consistent routine. One day of exercise does not create strength. One healthy meal does not transform the body. It is the repeated action of choosing healthy habits every day that leads to change. Over time, the body adapts, energy increases, and strength develops. The transformation appears gradual, but it is built on countless consistent actions. Consistency is also closely connected to identity. The actions a person repeats daily begin to define who they are. A person who reads regularly becomes a reader. A person who practices kindness daily becomes a kind individual. A person who works on their goals every day becomes focused and determined. Identity is not formed by one decision, but by repeated behavior. Over time, consistency shapes not only results, but also character. One of the biggest challenges people face with consistency is boredom. Repeating the same action every day can feel monotonous and unexciting. This is where many people lose focus. They seek variety, excitement, and quick results, which leads them away from their original path. However, those who understand the power of consistency learn to embrace repetition. They understand that mastery is found in doing the same thing with patience and attention. Another challenge is the lack of immediate feedback. In many areas of life, results take time to appear. A student may study for weeks without seeing improvement. A person trying to build a business may work hard without immediate profit. This delay can create doubt and frustration. But consistency requires trust in the process. It requires the belief that effort will eventually produce results, even if those results are not visible at the moment. It is also important to recognize that consistency does not mean perfection. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone misses a day or faces setbacks. What matters is not avoiding failure, but returning to the path after failure. A person who stops completely loses progress, but a person who continues, despite mistakes, keeps moving forward. Consistency allows room for imperfection while maintaining direction. In many ways, consistency is a quiet form of strength. It does not show itself in dramatic moments, but in everyday actions. It is the decision to wake up and try again. It is the effort to improve a little more than yesterday. It is the patience to wait for results while continuing the work. This quiet strength builds resilience, and resilience is essential for long-term success. Reality is that consistency separates those who achieve from those who only dream. Many people have ideas, goals, and ambitions, but only a few are willing to work on them consistently. Talent may give someone an advantage in the beginning, but without consistency, that advantage fades. On the other hand, a person with average ability but strong consistency can surpass those with greater talent. Over time, consistency is not about speed. It is about direction and persistence. Moving slowly in the right direction is better than moving quickly without direction. Every small action taken consistently brings a person closer to their goal. Even if progress feels slow, it is still progress, and over time, it leads to meaningful change. Understanding consistency is the first step toward applying it. It is not a complicated concept, but it requires deep acceptance. Accepting that results take time. Accepting that effort must be repeated. Accepting that setbacks are part of the journey. Once a person truly understands these principles, they begin to see consistency not as a burden, but as a powerful tool. In the end, consistency is a choice. It is a decision made every day. It is the choice to continue despite difficulty, to act despite doubt, and to believe in the process. Despite uncertainty, this choice may seem small in the moment, but over time, it creates a path that leads to growth, achievement, and transformation. Chapter 2. The science behind consistency. Consistency is not only a motivational idea or a philosophical belief, it is deeply rooted in science. The human brain and body are designed in a way that repeated actions shape behavior, thinking, and ability. Understanding this scientific foundation makes it easier to trust the process of consistency, even when results are not immediately visible. At the core of consistency lies the way the brain learns and adapts. The brain forms connections between neurons, which are known as neural pathways. Every time a person repeats an action, these pathways become stronger and more efficient. This process is often referred to as learning or habit formation. When an action is repeated enough times, it becomes automatic, requiring less conscious effort. This is why a person who practices a skill daily eventually performs it with ease. Consider the example of learning to ride a bicycle. In the beginning, the process feels difficult and unstable. The mind is fully engaged, trying to balance pedal and steer at the same time. Mistakes are frequent and progress seems slow. However, with repeated practice, the brain strengthens the neural pathways involved in coordination and balance. Eventually, riding a bicycle becomes natural, almost effortless. This transformation is the result of consistent repetition shaping the brain. This same principle applies to every skill, whether it is studying speaking, a language, playing an instrument, or developing a professional ability. The brain does not respond strongly to one-time effort, but it responds powerfully to repeated actions. Consistency signals to the brain that a particular activity is important and worth optimizing. Over time, the brain adapts to make that activity easier and more efficient. Another important scientific concept related to consistency is the compound effect. The compound effect explains how small actions, when repeated over time, lead to significant outcomes. Just like interest in a bank account grows, when it is added regularly, small efforts accumulate and produce large results. The key factor here is time. Without time, even consistent actions may not show visible results. But with time, the impact becomes undeniable. For example, imagine two individuals. One decides to read 10 pages of a book every day, while the other reads occasionally whenever they feel motivated. At the end of a year, the first individual will have read thousands of pages, gaining knowledge and insight, while the second individual may have only completed a few books. The difference is not intelligence or capability, but consistent effort over time. This demonstrates how the compound effect works. In real life, consistency also affects the brain's reward system. The brain releases a chemical known as dopamine when a person experiences satisfaction or achievement. This reward encourages the repetition of the same behavior. When small goals are consistently achieved, the brain begins to associate the activity with positive feelings. This creates a cycle where action leads to reward, and reward encourages further action. Over time, this cycle strengthens habits and makes consistency easier to maintain. However, it is important to understand that the brain also resists change in the beginning. This resistance is due to the brain's natural tendency to conserve energy. New actions require more effort and attention, which can feel uncomfortable. This is why starting a new habit is often difficult. A person may feel resistance when trying to wake up early, exercise, or study regularly. But as the behavior is repeated, the brain adapts and the resistance decreases. What once felt difficult becomes part of routine. The body also responds to consistency in powerful ways. Physical training is a clear example. When a person exercises regularly, the body undergoes gradual changes. Muscles become stronger, endurance improves, and overall health increases. These changes do not happen after a single workout, but through repeated effort over time. The body adapts to the demands placed on it and becomes more capable as a result. Similarly, mental consistency leads to cognitive improvement. A person who challenges their mind daily through learning, problem solving, or creative activities strengthens their thinking abilities. Memory improves, focus sharpens, and understanding deepens. These changes are not immediate, but they are the result of consistent mental engagement. Another scientific aspect of consistency is the concept of habit loops. A habit loop consists of a cue, an action, and a reward. The cue triggers the behavior, the action is the behavior itself, and the reward reinforces it. For example, a person may set a specific time each day as a cue for studying. The act of studying becomes the action, and the sense of accomplishment becomes the reward. Repeating this loop daily strengthens the habit, making it easier to maintain consistency. Understanding habit loops allows individuals to design their routines effectively by creating clear cues and meaningful rewards. They can make consistency more sustainable. Over time, these habits become automatic, reducing the need for constant decision-making. This is important because decision fatigue can weaken consistency. When actions become habits, they require less mental effort, allowing a person to focus on improvement rather than initiation. Consistency also interacts with emotions. While motivation can fluctuate, consistency provides stability. Emotions may change from day to day, but consistent routines create a sense of structure and control. This stability helps individuals continue their efforts even when they do not feel motivated. It shifts the focus from how one feels to what one does. Real-life examples further highlight the science behind consistency. Consider a musician who practices daily scales. At first, it may seem repetitive and unexciting, but over time, it builds muscle memory and precision, enabling complex performances. Consider a student who reviews lessons every day instead of cramming before exams. Their understanding becomes deeper and more lasting. These outcomes are not accidental, but the result of consistent reinforcement of knowledge and skill. It is also important to note that inconsistency disrupts this process. When actions are not repeated regularly, the brain does not strengthen. The necessary pathways progress slows down and previously learned skills may weaken. This is why starting and stopping repeatedly can be frustrating. It prevents the brain and body from fully adapting and improving. Consistency, therefore, is not just about discipline. It is about working in alignment with how the brain and body function. It is about using repetition to build strength, knowledge, and skill. It is about allowing time to amplify effort through the compound effect. In reality, the science behind consistency reveals a simple but powerful truth. Small actions repeated consistently lead to transformation. The brain adapts, the body responds, and habits form, creating a system that supports continuous growth. Understanding this process helps individuals remain patient and committed even when progress is not immediately visible. Consistency is not magic, but it creates results that often appear magical to those who do not understand it. It is the steady application of effort supported by the natural mechanisms of the brain and body. When a person aligns their actions with this principle, they unlock a powerful path toward improvement and success. Chapter 3. Consistency in personal growth. Personal growth is often imagined as a moment of sudden change, a powerful realization, or a life-altering decision. While such moments can inspire direction, they do not create lasting transformation. True personal growth is built quietly through consistent effort repeated daily over time. It is not a single step, but a continuous journey where small actions shape character, mindset, and identity. Consistency in personal growth begins with self-awareness. A person must first recognize where they are and where they want to be. This awareness does not require perfection. It only requires honesty. Once this understanding is clear, the process of growth becomes a series of small, consistent actions rather than overwhelming goals. For example, a person who wants to become more confident does not suddenly transform overnight. Instead, they take small steps, such as speaking up in conversations, expressing opinions, and facing situations that challenge their comfort zone. Each small action builds confidence gradually. One of the most important aspects of consistency in personal growth is patience. Growth is slow and often invisible in the beginning. A person may work on improving their habits, mindset, or behavior for weeks without seeing noticeable change. This can lead to frustration and doubt. However, those who continue despite not seeing immediate results eventually reach a point where progress becomes clear. This is because growth happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Consider the example of a person trying to develop a habit of reading. Every day they read a few pages, even when they feel tired or distracted. At first, the effort feels small and insignificant. They may not feel more knowledgeable immediately, but over time, the accumulation of knowledge begins to show their thinking becomes deeper, their understanding expands, and their perspective changes. This transformation is not the result of one day of reading, but the result of consistent effort over months and years. Consistency also plays a crucial role in shaping identity. The actions a person repeats daily begin to define who they are. Person who writes regularly becomes a writer A. Person who practices gratitude daily becomes more positive A. Person who consistently works on self-improvement becomes disciplined and focused. Identity is not formed by intentions or desires, but by repeated behavior. Over time, these behaviors create a sense of self that influences future actions. Another key element of personal growth is overcoming internal resistance every individual faces. Moments of doubt, fear, and hesitation. These feelings are natural and often strongest when a person tries to change. Consistency helps in overcoming this resistance by creating familiarity. When an action is repeated, it becomes less intimidating and more natural. For example, a person who fears public speaking may start by speaking in small groups. With consistent practice, the fear gradually decreases and confidence increases. Personal growth through consistency also requires acceptance of failure. Mistakes, setbacks, and imperfections are part of the process. A person who expects perfection will struggle to remain consistent because any failure may feel like a reason to quit. In reality, failure is feedback. It shows what needs to be improved and provides an opportunity to learn. A person who continues despite failure builds resilience, and resilience is essential for growth. In many cases, people delay personal growth because they wait for motivation. They believe they need to feel inspired or ready before taking action. However, motivation is temporary and unreliable. It can disappear as quickly as it appears. Consistency, on the other hand, is based on commitment, not feeling. A person who acts consistently does not depend on motivation. They act because they have decided to grow regardless of how they feel. Another example can be seen in emotional growth. A person who wants to become more patient cannot achieve this through a single decision. They must practice patience in daily situations, such as dealing with delays, misunderstandings, or challenges. Each moment becomes an opportunity to apply patience. Through consistent practice, their reactions change, and patience becomes a natural part of their behavior. Consistency in personal growth also involves creating routines. Routines provide structure and reduce the need for constant decision-making. When actions are part of a routine, they become easier to maintain. For example, setting aside a specific time each day for self-reflection, reading, or exercise creates a habit that supports growth. Over time, these routines become automatic, allowing the person to focus on improvement rather than effort. It is important to understand that personal growth is not always comfortable. In fact, growth often requires stepping outside of comfort zones. This discomfort can be a barrier to consistency. Many people avoid actions that feel difficult or unfamiliar. However, those who embrace discomfort as part of the process are able to continue growing. Consistency in facing challenges builds courage and confidence. Real-life examples show that consistent personal growth leads to significant transformation. A person who spends a few minutes each day improving communication skills becomes more effective in relationships and professional settings. A person who consistently practices self-discipline becomes more productive and focused. These changes may seem small in the beginning, but over time, they create a strong and capable individual. Another important aspect of consistency in personal growth is reflection. Reflection allows a person to evaluate their progress, understand their mistakes, and adjust their actions. Without reflection, consistency may become repetitive without improvement. By taking time to think about what is working and what needs to change, a person can ensure that their efforts lead to meaningful growth. Consistency also builds self-trust. When a person follows through on their commitments repeatedly, they begin to trust themselves. This trust increases confidence and reduces self-doubt. It creates a positive cycle where consistent action leads to belief, and belief supports further action. This internal strength is one of the most valuable outcomes of personal growth. The journey of personal growth through consistency is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming better than before. It is about making small improvements each day and staying committed to the process. Even when progress feels slow or uncertain, each step contributes to long-term transformation. In reality, consistency in personal growth is a powerful force that shapes who a person becomes. It turns intentions into actions and actions into habits. Over time, these habits define character and influence every aspect of life. The person who commits to consistent growth develops resilience, discipline, and a strong sense of purpose. Personal growth is not a destination, but a continuous journey, and consistency is the path that makes this journey possible. It is the quiet effort repeated daily that leads to lasting change and meaningful progress. Chapter 4. Consistency in career and business. Consistency in career and business is one of the most defining factors that separates temporary success from long-term achievement. Many people enter their professional lives with ambition, dreams, and energy, but only a few maintain the steady effort required to turn those ambitions into reality. The truth is that careers are not built in moments of inspiration. They are built through repeated actions performed with discipline over time. In the early stages of any career, progress often feels slow. A person may work hard, yet receive little recognition or reward. This can lead to frustration and doubt, however. Those who understand the value of consistency do not measure their success only by immediate outcomes. They focus on improving their skills, building their knowledge, and delivering value every day. Over time, this consistent effort creates opportunities that may not have been visible at the beginning. Consider the example of a young professional starting their first job. At first, they may lack experience and confidence. Their work may not stand out, and they may feel unnoticed, but if they commit to learning every day, asking questions, improving their performance, and maintaining discipline, they gradually develop expertise. Their growth may not be obvious in the beginning, but over months and years, it becomes undeniable. Eventually, they become someone others rely on and respect. This transformation is not the result of luck, but of consistent effort. In business, consistency is equally important. An entrepreneur may start a business with excitement and high expectations, but the initial phase is often filled with challenges. There may be financial pressure, uncertainty, and slow growth. Many businesses fail not because the idea was weak, but because the effort was inconsistent. Owners may lose focus, change direction too often, or give up when results are delayed. On the other hand, a business that maintains consistent quality service and improvement builds trust with customers and grows steadily. A simple example can be seen in customer service. A business that consistently provides good service creates loyal customers. These customers return and recommend the business to others. Over time, this builds a strong reputation. In contrast, a business that occasionally but fails to maintain standards loses trust and struggles to grow consistency creates. Reliability and reliability is the foundation of trust in any professional. Environment. Another important aspect of consistency in career and business is skill development. The modern world is constantly changing, and skills that are relevant today may become outdated tomorrow. A person who learns continuously and adapts consistently remains valuable and competitive. For example, a software developer who dedicates time each day to learning new technologies stays ahead in their field, while someone who stops learning may struggle to keep up. This ongoing effort ensures long-term growth and stability. Consistency also plays a key role in productivity. Many people rely on bursts of motivation to complete tasks. They work intensely for short periods and then lose focus. This pattern leads to uneven results and missed opportunities. In contrast, a person who works consistently, even at a moderate pace, achieves more over time. Steady progress is more reliable than occasional bursts of effort because it creates momentum and reduces the risk of burnout in professional environments. Consistency builds credibility. Colleagues and leaders trust individuals who deliver reliable results. When a person consistently meets deadlines, maintains quality, and demonstrates responsibility, they become dependable. This dependability often leads to greater opportunities, promotions, and leadership roles. Employers value consistency because it reduces uncertainty and increases efficiency. Another example can be seen in communication. A professional who consistently communicates clearly and respectfully builds strong relationships with colleagues, clients, and stakeholders. These relationships are essential for collaboration and success. In contrast, inconsistent communication can create misunderstandings and weaken trust. Over time, consistent communication strengthens both personal and professional connections. Consistency in business strategy is also crucial. While adaptation and innovation are important, constantly changing direction without purpose can lead to confusion and instability. Successful businesses maintain a clear vision and work consistently toward it. They may adjust their approach based on feedback and market conditions, but their core values and goals remain steady. This balance between consistency and adaptability allows them to grow without losing direction. It is also important to recognize that consistency does not mean doing the same thing without improvement. In career and business, consistency should be combined with learning and refinement. A person who repeats the same actions without seeking improvement may not achieve growth. True consistency involves not only repetition, but also progress. It means doing the work regularly while finding ways to do it better each time. One of the biggest challenges in maintaining consistency in career and business is dealing with setbacks. Failure, rejection, and unexpected obstacles are common experiences. These challenges can disrupt motivation and create doubt. However, consistency provides stability during uncertain times. A person who continues to work, improve, and adapt despite setbacks builds resilience. This resilience allows them to recover and move forward stronger than before. For example, an entrepreneur may launch a product that does not succeed. Instead of giving up, they analyze what went wrong, make improvements, and try again. Each attempt adds experience and knowledge. Over time, this consistent effort increases the chances of success. Many successful businesses have faced multiple failures before achieving their goals. What set them apart was their ability to remain consistent in their efforts. Consistency also influences long-term reputation. A professional who consistently performs well builds a strong personal brand. This reputation opens doors to new opportunities, collaborations, and growth. Similarly, a business that consistently delivers value becomes recognized and respected in its industry. Reputation is not built overnight. It is the result of repeated actions over time. Another important element is time management. Consistency requires the ability to manage time effectively. Prioritizing important tasks, avoiding distractions, and maintaining a routine helps sustain steady progress. Person who organizes their time well can maintain consistency even in demanding situations. This discipline ensures that goals are pursued regularly without unnecessary delays. Reality consistency in career and business is not always easy. Requires patience, discipline, and the ability to stay focused on long-term goals rather than short-term results. There will be moments of doubt and periods of slow progress, but those who continue despite these challenges eventually see the rewards of their effort. The power of consistency in professional life lies in its ability to transform small actions into significant achievements. It builds skills, strengthens relationships, creates opportunities, and establishes credibility. Over time, these factors combine to shape a successful and fulfilling career or business. Consistency is not about working endlessly without rest. It is about maintaining steady, purposeful effort. It is about showing up every day, doing the work, and improving gradually. This steady approach leads to sustainable success and long-term growth. In the end, consistency in career and business is a commitment to progress. It is the decision to keep moving forward regardless of obstacles. It is the discipline to continue, even when results are not immediate. This commitment creates a path that leads to achievement, stability, and lasting success. Chapter 5. Overcoming obstacles through consistency. Obstacles are an unavoidable part of life. No matter how clear a goal may be or how strong the intention is, challenges will appear in different forms. Sometimes they come as external difficulties, such as financial problems, lack of resources, or unexpected events. Other times they arise internally as fear, doubt, laziness, or loss of motivation. The presence of obstacles is not a sign of failure. It is a natural part of any meaningful journey. What truly matters is how a person responds to these challenges, and this is where consistency becomes powerful. Consistency does not eliminate obstacles, but it changes the way they are faced. A person who acts consistently develops strength and resilience over time. This strength does not come from avoiding difficulties, but from confronting them repeatedly. Each time a challenge is faced and effort continues despite it, the individual becomes more capable of handling future challenges. In this way, obstacles are not barriers, but opportunities to grow stronger. Consider the example of a student preparing for an important exam. During the preparation period, they may face distractions, stress, and moments of self-doubt. There may be days when studying feels overwhelming and progress seems slow. If the student relies only on motivation, they may stop during difficult moments. However, if they commit to studying consistently, even for a short time each day, they maintain momentum. Over time, their understanding improves and their confidence increases. The obstacles do not disappear, but their ability to handle them becomes stronger. One of the most common obstacles people face is failure. Failure often creates fear and discouragement. Many individuals stop their efforts after experiencing failure because they see it as a final result rather than a temporary setback. Consistency changes this perspective. It allows a person to see failure as part of the process rather than the end of it. Each failure provides information about what does not work and what needs to be improved. A person who continues despite failure gains experience and insight that eventually lead to success. Another significant obstacle is the lack of immediate results. In many areas of life, effort does not produce instant outcomes. This delay can create doubt and frustration. A person may feel that their hard work is not leading anywhere and may question whether it is worth continuing. Consistency requires patience during these periods. It is the understanding that results often come after a certain amount of time and effort have been invested. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a plant, consistent effort requires time to show visible change. Distractions are another major challenge in maintaining progress. Modern life is filled with distractions that can easily take attention away from goals. Social media, entertainment, and constant interruptions can break focus and reduce productivity. A person who lacks consistency may be easily influenced by these distractions and lose direction, however. A consistent individual develops discipline and focus. They create routines that help them stay on track and minimize distractions. Over time, this discipline becomes a habit, making it easier to maintain progress. Internal resistance is also a powerful obstacle. This resistance can appear as laziness, fear, or negative thinking. A person may know what needs to be done, but still struggle to take action. This happens because the mind often prefers comfort and avoids effort. Consistency helps overcome this resistance by creating a pattern of action. When a person acts regularly, despite resistance, the action becomes easier and the resistance weakens. For example, a person who finds it difficult to exercise may struggle in the beginning, but with consistent effort, the habit becomes more natural and less difficult. Emotional challenges such as stress, anxiety, and disappointment can also disrupt progress. Life is not always stable, and external circumstances can affect emotional well-being. During such times, it becomes difficult to maintain focus and motivation. Consistency provides a sense of stability during emotional fluctuations. It allows a person to continue their efforts even when emotions are not supportive by maintaining small actions. During difficult times, a person preserves progress and prevents complete setbacks. Another example can be seen in entrepreneurship. Starting and running a business involves numerous obstacles, including financial uncertainty, competition, and market changes. Many entrepreneurs face failure in their early attempts. What distinguishes those who succeed is their ability to remain consistent. They continue to learn, adapt, and improve their strategies. Despite setbacks, each obstacle becomes a lesson that contributes to future success. Without consistency, these lessons would be lost and progress would stop. Consistency also builds confidence in facing obstacles. When a person repeatedly overcomes challenges, they begin to in their ability to handle difficulties. This confidence reduces fear and encourages further action. It creates a positive cycle where consistent effort leads to small successes, and those successes build confidence to face larger challenges. Over time, obstacles that once seemed difficult become manageable. It is important to understand that overcoming obstacles through consistency does not mean ignoring rest or pushing beyond limits without care. Balance is essential. A person must recognize when to pause, recover, and adjust their approach. Consistency is not about constant pressure, but about steady progress. Even during rest, the intention to continue remains. This balanced approach ensures sustainability and prevents burnout. Another key aspect is adaptability. Consistency does not mean rigidly following the same method regardless of results. It involves adjusting strategies while maintaining effort. If one approach does not work, consistent individual learns and tries a different method. This flexibility allows progress to continue even when circumstances change. Obstacles often require creative solutions, and consistent effort combined with adaptability leads to effective problem-solving. Real-life examples show that many successful individuals faced significant obstacles before achieving their goals. Their journeys were not smooth or easy, but they remained consistent in their efforts. They continued to work, improve, and adapt despite challenges. Their success is not defined by the absence of obstacles, but by their ability to overcome them. Through persistence in reality, obstacles are not meant to stop progress. They are meant to test commitment. They reveal how strong a person's dedication truly is. Consistency provides the strength to pass this test. It ensures that effort continues even when conditions are not ideal. Over time, this persistence turns obstacles into stepping stones rather than barriers. Power of consistency in overcoming obstacles lies in its simplicity. It does not require extraordinary talent or special circumstances. It only requires the decision to keep going. Each small step taken despite difficulty contributes to progress. Even when the path is unclear, consistent effort creates direction and momentum in The end, overcoming obstacles through consistency, is about resilience, patience, and determination. It is the ability to continue moving forward regardless of challenges. It is the understanding that every obstacle faced and overcome adds to strength and experience. This journey may not always be easy, but it leads to growth, achievement, and a deeper sense of capability. Chapter 6. Consistency in health and fitness. Health and fitness are among the clearest areas where the power of consistency can be seen in real life. The human body responds directly to repeated actions, whether those actions are positive or negative. Every choice related to food, movement, rest, and lifestyle contributes to overall well-being. However, these choices do not create instant results. It is the repeated pattern of these choices over time that shapes the body and mind. Many people approach health and fitness with short-term thinking. They look for quick results, rapid weight loss, or immediate physical transformation. This mindset often leads to extreme efforts, such as intense workouts or strict diets that are difficult to maintain. While these efforts may produce temporary results, they are rarely sustainable. Once the intensity fades, the results disappear and the person returns to their previous state. This cycle of starting and stopping is a result of inconsistency. Consistency offers a different approach. It focuses on steady, sustainable actions that can be maintained over a long period of time, instead of trying to achieve drastic change in a short time. It emphasizes gradual improvement. A person who exercises regularly, even for a short duration, builds strength, endurance, and flexibility over time. These changes may not be noticeable in the beginning, but they accumulate and eventually lead to visible transformation. Consider the example of walking. A simple daily habit of walking for 30 minutes may seem insignificant compared to intense workouts. However, when practiced consistently, it improves cardiovascular health, increases stamina, and supports mental well-being. Over weeks and months, this simple habit creates meaningful change. The power lies not in the intensity of the action, but in its repetition. Nutrition is another important aspect where consistency plays a major role. Eating healthy once in a while does not improve health, just as eating unhealthy occasionally does not cause immediate harm. What matters is the overall pattern of eating habits. A person who consistently chooses balanced meals with proper nutrients develops better energy levels, stronger immunity, and improved physical condition. Over time, these habits become part of their lifestyle, making it easier to maintain health. Consistency in health and fitness also affects mental well-being. Physical activity releases chemicals in the brain that improve mood, reduce stress, and increase focus. A person who exercises regularly experiences these benefits consistently, leading to a more stable and positive mental state. In contrast, irregular habits can lead to fluctuations in energy and mood, making it difficult to maintain balance. One of the biggest challenges in maintaining consistency in health and fitness is motivation. Many people start with enthusiasm, but struggle to continue when motivation decreases. This is because motivation is temporary and influenced by emotions, circumstances, and external factors. Consistency requires discipline rather than motivation. It is the decision to continue even when one does not feel like doing the activity. This discipline creates a routine that supports long-term progress. Another common obstacle is unrealistic expectations. People often expect quick results and become discouraged when progress is slow. This discouragement leads to inconsistency and eventually stopping altogether. It is important to understand that the body needs time to adapt. Changes in strength, endurance, and appearance happen gradually. Consistency ensures that these changes continue to develop even when they are not immediately visible. Rest and recovery are also essential parts of consistency in health and fitness. Consistency does not mean constant activity without pause. The body requires time to recover and rebuild. Rest allows muscles to repair, energy levels to restore, and the mind to relax. A balanced approach that includes both activity and rest supports sustainable progress. overtraining, or ignoring recovery can lead to fatigue, injury, and loss of motivation, which disrupt consistency. Another example of consistency in health can be seen in hydration. Drinking water regularly throughout the day supports bodily functions, improves concentration, and maintains energy levels. While drinking water once does not create a noticeable effect, consistent hydration over time contributes to overall health. This simple habit demonstrates how small actions repeated daily can have a significant impact. Consistency also helps in building discipline and self-control. Making healthy choices regularly strengthens the ability to resist unhealthy habits. A person who consistently follows a routine becomes more aware of their actions and develops better control over their decisions. This self-control extends beyond health and fitness and influences other areas of life. Real-life examples show that individuals who achieve long-term fitness goals are not necessarily those who train the hardest for short periods, but those who maintain steady routines over time. A person who exercises moderately or regularly often achieves better results than someone who exercises intensely but inconsistently. The same principle applies to diet, sleep, and overall lifestyle. Another important aspect is adaptability. Life circumstances change and routines may need adjustment. A consistent individual understands how to adapt without losing direction. For example, if a person cannot follow their usual workout, they may choose a simpler activity instead. This flexibility ensures that progress continues even when conditions are not ideal. Consistency is maintained not by rigid adherence to one method, but by the commitment to continue in any possible way. It is also important to recognize that health and fitness are long-term commitments rather than short-term goals. There is no final point where effort is no longer required. Maintaining health requires ongoing consistency. A person who understands this develops habits that become part of their daily life rather than temporary efforts. Consistency in health and fitness also influences confidence. As physical condition improves, energy increases, and discipline strengthens, a person begins to feel more confident. This confidence is not only based on appearance, but also on the knowledge that they are capable of maintaining positive habits. It creates a sense of control and empowerment that supports overall well-being. In reality, the power of consistency in health and fitness lies in its simplicity. Small actions such as regular exercise, balanced nutrition, proper rest, and hydration may seem ordinary, but when practiced consistently, they create extraordinary results. These results are not achieved overnight, but through patience and persistence. The journey may include challenges, setbacks, and periods of slow progress, but consistency ensures that movement continues. Each day of effort adds to the foundation of health and well-being. Even when progress feels minimal, it is still progress, and over time, it leads to transformation in the end. Consistency in health and fitness is about creating a lifestyle that supports long-term well-being. It is not about perfection or extreme effort, but about steady commitment. It is the repeated choice to take care of the body and mind. This commitment leads to strength, balance, and lasting health, making consistency one of the most powerful tools for achieving and maintaining fitness. Chapter 7. Consistency. In relationships are one of the most important aspects of human life. They provide connection, support, understanding, and a sense of belonging, however strong and meaningful. Relationships are not built in a single moment. They are developed over time through repeated actions, trust, and shared experiences. At the center of all lasting relationships lies one essential principle: consistency. Consistency in relationships means showing up regularly with honesty, care, and respect. It is not about grand gestures or occasional acts of kindness, but about small, everyday actions that build trust and emotional security. A relationship cannot survive on temporary effort. It requires steady attention and commitment over time. Consider the example of friendship. A person who checks in occasionally but disappears during important moments may not build a strong bond. On the other hand, a friend who consistently listens, supports, and stays present becomes someone reliable and trustworthy. This reliability creates a sense of comfort and strengthens the connection. Over time, the friendship becomes deeper, not because of extraordinary events, but because of consistent presence. Trust is one of the most important elements in any relationship, and consistency is what builds it. Trust does not develop instantly. It grows when actions match words repeatedly. When a person consistently keeps promises, communicates honestly, and behaves with integrity, others begin to rely on them. This trust forms the foundation of strong relationships. Without consistency, trust becomes weak and uncertain. In family relationships, consistency plays an even more significant role. Parents who consistently provide support, guidance, and attention create a stable environment for their children. Children learn values, behavior, and emotional responses through repeated interactions. When these interactions are consistent, they feel secure and understood. In contrast, inconsistency can create confusion and insecurity, affecting emotional development. Romantic relationships also depend heavily on consistency. Love is not only expressed through big moments, but through daily actions. A partner who consistently shows care, respect, and understanding strengthens the bond over time. Simple actions such as listening, communicating, and being present create a sense of stability. This stability allows the relationship to grow even during challenging times. Communication is a key area where consistency matters greatly. A person who communicates openly and regularly helps prevent misunderstandings and builds clarity. Inconsistent communication can lead to confusion and distance. For example, ignoring messages or avoiding difficult conversations can weaken a relationship over time. Consistent communication fosters understanding and strengthens emotional connection. Another important aspect is emotional support. Life includes challenges, stress, and difficult situations. During such times, consistent support from others becomes valuable. A person who stands by someone during both good and difficult times builds a strong and lasting connection. This reliability creates a sense of trust and reassurance. Knowing that someone will be there consistently provides comfort and strength. Consistency also helps in resolving conflicts. Disagreements are natural in any relationship, but the way they are handled determines the strength of the bond. A person who consistently approaches conflicts with patience, respect, and willingness to understand creates a healthier environment. This approach allows issues to be resolved without damaging the relationship. Over time, it builds a pattern of constructive communication. One of the common challenges in relationships is taking people for granted. When relationships become familiar, individuals may stop putting in consistent effort. They may assume that the bond will remain strong without attention. However, relationships require continuous care. Just like a plant needs regular watering, a relationship needs consistent effort. Without it, the connection can weaken over time. Another challenge is inconsistency in behavior. A person who acts differently in different situations or changes their attitude frequently can create confusion and uncertainty. This inconsistency makes it difficult for others to understand and trust them. In contrast, consistent behavior provides clarity and stability. It allows others to feel secure in the relationship. Consistency in relationships does not mean perfection. Everyone makes mistakes and faces difficult moments. What matters is the effort to maintain respect and care despite these challenges. A person who acknowledges mistakes and continues to act with honesty and responsibility strengthens the relationship. Consistency allows room for growth and improvement. Real-life examples show that strong relationships are built on repeated actions. A parent who spends time with their child daily creates a strong emotional bond. A friend who consistently supports others becomes deeply valued. A partner who maintains respect and communication builds a lasting connection. These examples highlight that it is the accumulation of small actions that defines the strength of a relationship. Consistency also creates emotional safety. When people know what to expect from each other, they feel comfortable expressing themselves openly. This openness allows deeper connections to form emotional safety and encourages honesty, vulnerability, and trust, which are essential for meaningful relationships. Another important element is time. Investing time consistently shows that a relationship is valued. Spending time together, whether through conversation, shared activities, or simple presence, strengthens the bond. Over time, these moments create memories and deepen connection. Lack of time and attention can create distance, even if the intention to care exists. Consistency in relationships also influences self-growth. Interacting with others regularly provides opportunities to learn, understand different perspectives, and develop emotional intelligence. A person who engages consistently in positive relationships becomes more empathetic, patient, and understanding. These qualities further enhance the ability to build strong connections. It is also important to adapt while maintaining consistency. Life circumstances change, and relationships may face new challenges. A consistent individual adjusts their actions while maintaining the core values of respect, care, and honesty. This adaptability ensures that the relationship continues to grow rather than stagnate. In reality, the strength of any relationship is not measured by occasional moments of happiness, but by the consistency of effort over time. Relationships that last are those where individuals continue to show up, care, and support each other through different phases of life. This steady effort creates bonds that can withstand challenges and changes. The power of consistency in relationships lies in its ability to build trust, stability, and emotional connection. It transforms simple interactions into meaningful experiences and creates a foundation for lasting bonds. Through repeated actions, individuals demonstrate their commitment and value for each other. In the end, consistency in relationships is about being present, reliable, and genuine. It is the commitment to nurture connections through everyday actions. This commitment leads to deeper understanding, stronger trust, and lasting companionship, making consistency one of the most essential elements in building and maintaining meaningful relationships. Chapter 8. The pitfalls of inconsistency. Inconsistency is one of the most common yet least recognized reasons behind failure and unfulfilled potential. Many people have goals, dreams, and ambitions. They begin with excitement and strong intention. But somewhere along the journey, they lose direction. Their efforts become irregular. Their focus weakens, and eventually progress stops. This pattern does not happen because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. The danger of inconsistency lies in its subtle nature. It does not always appear as complete failure. Instead, it shows itself in small breaks, in routine, missed opportunities, and unfinished efforts. These small gaps may seem harmless at first, but over time, they accumulate and create a significant difference between where a person is and where they could have been. One of the most noticeable effects of inconsistency is the loss of momentum. Progress in any area of life depends on continuous effort. When actions are repeated regularly, they create flow and rhythm. This rhythm makes it easier to continue. However, when consistency is broken, momentum is lost and restarting becomes difficult. A person who stops working toward a goal for a period of time often finds it harder to begin again. This creates a cycle of starting, stopping, and restarting without meaningful progress. Consider the example of a student preparing for exams. A student who studies regularly builds understanding gradually and retains information effectively. In contrast, a student who studies irregularly may struggle to keep up. They may forget what they learned and feel overwhelmed when they try to catch up. This inconsistency leads to stress and lower performance, even if the student has the ability to succeed. Inconsistency also affects skill development. Skills require repeated practice to improve. When practice is irregular, the brain does not strengthen. The necessary connections and progress become slow. A musician who practices occasionally may learn basic skills, but will struggle to achieve mastery. A writer who writes only when inspired may produce some work, but will not develop the discipline needed for consistent improvement. In both cases, inconsistency limits growth. Another major pitfall of inconsistency is the impact on confidence. When a person fails to follow through on their plans repeatedly, they begin to doubt themselves. This self-doubt reduces motivation and creates a negative cycle. A person may start believing that they are incapable of achieving their goals, even though the real issue is not ability, but lack of consistent effort. On the other hand, consistency builds self-trust because each completed action reinforces the belief that progress is possible. Inconsistency also weakens discipline. Discipline is like a muscle that grows stronger with use. When actions are performed regularly, discipline improves, making it easier to continue. However, when actions are irregular, discipline weakens and it becomes harder to stay focused. This makes it easier to give in to distractions and abandon goals. Another important effect of inconsistency is the loss of opportunities. In career and business, reliability is highly valued. A person who delivers consistent results is trusted and given more responsibility. In contrast, someone who performs well occasionally but lacks consistency may be seen as unreliable. This perception can limit opportunities for growth and advancement. Over time, consistency builds a strong reputation, while inconsistency creates doubt. Relationships are also affected by inconsistency. A person who is present and supportive at times, but absent or unreliable at others, creates confusion and uncertainty. Trust becomes difficult to establish because actions do not match expectations. Consistent behavior builds strong connections, while inconsistent behavior weakens them. This applies to friendships, family relationships, and professional interactions. Inconsistency can also lead to wasted effort. When a person starts and stops repeatedly, they often lose the progress they have made. Each time they begin again, they must rebuild from where they left off. This consumes time and energy that could have been used for further growth. Example: a person who follows a fitness routine for a few weeks and then stops may lose the progress they achieved. When they start again, they must repeat the same initial steps instead of moving forward. Another common issue is the reliance on motivation. People who are inconsistent often depend on feeling motivated to take action. However, motivation is temporary and unpredictable. It can disappear due to stress, fatigue, or external circumstances. When motivation fades, action stops and inconsistency begins. A person who understands the limitations of motivation focuses on discipline and routine instead. This approach supports consistency even when motivation is low. Inconsistency also creates mental stress and frustration. A person may feel that they are working hard but not achieving results. This can lead to confusion and disappointment. The gap between effort and outcome becomes difficult to understand in reality. The issue is not the effort itself, but the lack of continuity. Consistent effort produces results, while scattered effort does not. Another example can be seen in personal habits. A person who tries to build a habit, such as reading, exercising, or waking up early, may struggle if they are not consistent. Missing several days breaks the habit loop and makes it harder to continue. Over time, the habit fails to develop. This shows that habits depend on repetition and regularity. It is also important to recognize that inconsistency often comes from unrealistic expectations. People may set goals that are too ambitious or difficult to maintain. When they fail to meet these expectations, they become discouraged and stop trying. A more effective approach is to set small, manageable goals that can be performed consistently. This creates a sense of achievement and encourages continued effort. Inconsistency does not only affect results, it also affects mindset. A person who is inconsistent may develop a habit of quitting. This habit can extend to multiple areas of life. making it difficult to commit to long-term goals. In contrast, consistency builds perseverance and resilience. These qualities are essential for success and personal growth. Real-life examples show that many individuals with great potential fail to achieve their goals due to inconsistency. They may have talent, intelligence, and resources, but without steady effort, these advantages are not fully utilized. On the other hand, individuals with average ability but strong consistency often achieve greater success because they continue to improve over time. The reality is that inconsistency is a silent barrier. It does not always appear as failure, but it prevents progress. It creates gaps in effort, weakens discipline, and limits growth. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward change. Once a person understands the impact of inconsistency, they can begin to focus on building steady habits and routines. Overcoming inconsistency requires awareness, commitment, and patience. It involves identifying patterns of irregular behavior and replacing them with consistent actions. This process may not be easy, but it is necessary for achieving long-term goals. Each small step toward consistency reduces the negative effects of inconsistency and moves a person closer to success. In the end, the pitfalls of inconsistency highlight the importance of steady effort. Success is not determined by how much effort is made occasionally, but by how much effort is made regularly. Consistency turns effort into progress, while inconsistency turns effort into frustration. Understanding this difference allows individuals to make better choices and build a path toward meaningful achievement. Chapter 9. Building a consistent mindset. Consistency is not only about actions, it begins in the mind. Before a person can act consistently, they must think consistently. A consistent mindset is the foundation that supports steady behavior. Without it, even the best plans fail because the mind loses direction. Building a consistent mindset means training thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes to support long-term effort rather than short-term comfort. First step in developing a consistent mindset is clarity. A person must clearly understand what they want and why they want it. Without a clear purpose, it becomes easy to lose focus and give up when challenges arise. Purpose acts as a guide that keeps actions aligned even during difficult times. For example, a student who understands the importance of education for their future is more likely to study consistently than someone who studies without a clear reason. Another important element is acceptance of reality. Many people struggle with consistency because they expect immediate results or an easy path. When reality does not match these expectations, they become discouraged. A consistent mindset accepts that progress takes time, effort, and patience. It understands that challenges, setbacks, and slow progress are normal parts of the journey. This acceptance reduces frustration and helps maintain focus. Discipline is a key component of a consistent mindset. Discipline is the ability to act according to goals rather than emotions. Emotions change frequently. Sometimes a person feels motivated and other times they feel tired or uninterested. If actions depend only on emotions, consistency becomes impossible. A disciplined mindset focuses on what needs to be done regardless of how one feels. This does not mean ignoring emotions, but it means not allowing them to control behavior. Another important aspect is setting realistic goals. A consistent mindset avoids extremes. Instead of setting large, overwhelming goals, it focuses on small, achievable steps. These small steps are easier to repeat daily and create a sense of progress. For example, a person who wants to improve their fitness may start with short daily exercise sessions rather than intense workouts. This approach increases the likelihood of maintaining consistency. Belief also plays a major role. A person must believe that their efforts will lead to results. Even if progress is slow, this belief provides motivation to continue. Without belief, it becomes difficult to stay committed because the effort feels meaningless. Building belief requires patience and experience. Each small success strengthens confidence and reinforces the idea that consistency works. Another important factor is self-awareness. A person must understand their strengths, weaknesses, habits, and patterns. This awareness helps identify what supports consistency and what disrupts it. For example, a person may notice that they are more productive at a certain time of day, or that certain distractions reduce their focus. By understanding these patterns, they can create an environment that supports consistent action. Routine is another powerful tool in building a consistent mindset. A routine reduces the need for constant decision-making. When actions become part of a routine, they require less mental effort and are easier to maintain. For example, waking up at the same time each day or setting a fixed time for studying creates a structure that supports consistency. Over time, these routines become habits, making it easier to stay on track. Another important element is focus. In a world full of distractions, maintaining focus is challenging. A consistent mindset prioritizes important tasks and avoids unnecessary distractions. It understands that attention is limited and must be directed carefully by focusing on one goal at a time. A person can make steady progress rather than spreading effort too thin. Patience is also essential. Consistency requires time to produce results. A person with a consistent mindset does not rush the process. They understand that meaningful progress cannot be forced and that steady effort will eventually lead to success. This patience allows them to continue even when results are not immediately visible. Resilience is another key quality. A consistent mindset is not affected by temporary setbacks. When challenges occur, a resilient person does not give up. They adjust their approach and continue moving forward. This ability to recover from difficulties ensures that consistency is maintained even in unfavorable conditions. Another important aspect is accountability. Holding oneself accountable for actions increases consistency. This can be done by tracking progress, setting deadlines, or sharing goals with others. When a person takes responsibility for their actions, they are more likely to follow through. Accountability creates a sense of commitment and encourages continuous effort. It is also important to manage expectations. A person who expects perfection may become discouraged by small mistakes. A consistent mindset accepts imperfection and focuses on progress rather than perfection. Missing a day or making an error does not mean failure. What matters is returning to the routine and continuing the effort. This approach prevents small setbacks from becoming major obstacles. Positive thinking also supports consistency. A person who focuses on possibilities rather than limitations is more likely to continue their efforts. Negative thinking creates doubt and reduces motivation, while positive thinking encourages persistence. This does not mean ignoring challenges, but approaching them with a solution-oriented mindset. Another example can be seen in learning. A student who builds a consistent mindset approaches learning as a continuous process. They study regularly, review material, and seek improvement. Even when they do not understand something, they remain patient and keep trying. Over time, this approach leads to deeper understanding and better performance. Consistency in mindset also influences behavior in other areas of life. A person who develops discipline, focus, and patience in one area often applies these qualities to others. This creates overall growth and improvement. The mindset becomes a guiding force that shapes actions across different situations. Real life examples show that individuals who achieve long-term success often have a strong, consistent mindset. They do not rely on temporary motivation, but on discipline and purpose. They remain focused on their goals and continue their efforts despite challenges. This mental strength allows them to maintain consistency over time. Building a consistent mindset is not an instant process. It requires practice and awareness. A person must continuously work on their thoughts, attitudes, and habits. Each day provides an opportunity to strengthen this mindset. Through repeated effort, it becomes a natural way of thinking. In reality, a consistent mindset is one of the most powerful tools for achieving goals. It provides stability, direction, and strength. It allows a person to act with purpose rather than impulse and to continue despite difficulties. This mindset turns intention into action and action into habit. In the end, building a consistent mindset is about creating a strong mental foundation. It is the ability to stay focused, patient, and disciplined over time. This foundation supports consistent action and leads to meaningful progress and long-term success. Chapter 10. Strategies to develop consistency. Developing consistency is a skill that can be cultivated. It is not something people are simply born with. It requires deliberate effort, planning, and daily practice. The key is to focus on creating systems and habits that support repeated action rather than relying solely on willpower. Motivation. Understanding and applying practical strategies can make consistency much easier and more sustainable. First strategy is to start small. Large goals can be overwhelming and can create resistance when a person tries to do too much. At once, it is easy to become discouraged and quit. Starting with small, manageable steps increases the likelihood of success. For example, a person who wants to exercise regularly may begin with 10 minutes a day rather than an hour. This small commitment is easier to maintain and gradually builds a habit. Another effective strategy is creating routines. Routines reduce the mental effort required to take action. When an activity becomes part of a daily routine, it requires less conscious decision-making. For instance, waking up at the same time each day to study, work, or exercise turns the action into an automatic habit. The less a person has to think about doing it, the more likely they are to continue consistently. Tracking progress is another powerful tool. Consistency is reinforced when results can be seen over time. Tracking provides evidence of effort and improvement. It can be as simple as marking a calendar, checking off completed tasks, or using apps to monitor goals. This visual feedback motivates further effort and encourages a person to maintain regular action. Setting clear goals is essential. Clarity of purpose provides direction and focus. When a person knows exactly what they want to achieve, they can structure their actions accordingly. Specific, measurable goals are easier to pursue consistently than vague intentions. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get fit," a person might set a goal to walk 30 minutes every day or perform 3 workouts per week. Clear goals make it easier to measure progress and maintain effort. Another strategy is accountability. Sharing goals with others or creating systems of accountability increases commitment. When someone else is aware of the goal, there is social pressure to follow through. This can include telling a friend, family member, or mentor about progress, or joining a group with similar objectives. Accountability reinforces consistency because it creates external reminders and motivation to act. Prioritizing actions is also important. Not all tasks carry the same weight in achieving a goal. A consistent approach requires focusing on the most important actions that have the greatest impact. This prioritization prevents wasted effort and ensures that time and energy are directed toward activities that produce meaningful results. For example, a business owner may focus on tasks that generate revenue rather than spending excessive time on minor activities. Eliminating distractions supports consistent effort. Modern life is filled with distractions that can interrupt routines and reduce focus. A consistent person identifies these distractions and creates an environment that minimizes them. This can include turning off notifications, setting boundaries for social media, or creating a dedicated workspace. Reducing distractions allows steady progress without unnecessary interruptions. Another strategy is building habits. Habits are the building blocks of consistency. Repeated actions eventually become automatic when they are performed regularly. This reduces reliance on motivation and willpower. For example, a person who brushes their teeth daily does not need to think about it because it has become a habit. Similarly, a person can turn actions related to goals into habits that support consistent effort. Flexibility and adaptability are also key. Consistency does not mean rigidly following one method. It involves adjusting approaches when circumstances change while maintaining regular effort. For example, if a person cannot go to the gym, they may exercise at home or walk instead. The commitment to act consistently remains, even if the method changes. Adaptability ensures that consistency is maintained despite obstacles. Using rewards and reinforcement can strengthen consistency. The brain responds to positive feedback and reward. By rewarding progress, a person creates a cycle where effort is associated with satisfaction. This does not mean rewarding every small action excessively, but creating recognition for achievement reinforces behavior and encourages continued effort. Practicing patience is essential. Consistency is a long-term process, and results often take time. Patience helps a person stay committed, even when progress is not immediately visible. Understanding that effort compounds over time allows individuals to remain steady without becoming frustrated. Visualization and mental rehearsal can also support consistency. Imagining the process of taking action and achieving results prepares the mind to follow through. Repeated mental rehearsal strengthens commitment and reduces resistance when taking real action. Visualizing the benefits of consistent effort can motivate continued practice. Account for setbacks and plan for obstacles. Anticipating challenges helps maintain consistency when difficulties arise. Instead of giving up when faced with obstacles, a person with a plan can adjust their actions and continue. This proactive approach ensures that temporary setbacks do not derail long-term progress. Reflecting regularly on progress, challenges, and learning points enhances consistency. Reflection provides insight into what works and what needs improvement. It allows a person to refine routines and maintain focus. Regular reflection strengthens commitment and ensures that actions remain aligned with goals. Another strategy is combining actions with identity. When a person begins to see themselves as the type of individual who acts consistently, it reinforces behavior. For example, thinking, "I am someone who exercises daily," makes it easier to maintain fitness routines. Identity-based consistency strengthens commitment because actions align with self-perception. Finally, celebrating small wins encourages continued effort. Recognizing small achievements builds confidence and reinforces the value of consistent action. Each small win is evidence that effort produces results and motivates ongoing commitment over time. These accumulated wins create significant long-term outcomes. In reality, developing consistency is a combination of mindset, planning, and daily action. By applying strategies such as starting small, creating routines, tracking progress, setting clear goals, prioritizing, building habits, and adapting to challenges, a person strengthens their ability to act consistently. These strategies provide structure, reduce friction, and make steady effort sustainable. In the end, building consistency is not about perfection. It is about repeated effort, learning from setbacks, and maintaining commitment over time. It is the deliberate practice of showing up every day for oneself and one's goals. Applying these strategies allows a person to harness the power of consistency and create meaningful and lasting results. Conclusion: embracing the power of consistency. Consistency is the quiet force behind every meaningful achievement in life. It is the bridge between intention and reality, the invisible engine that transforms effort into results. While talent, opportunity, and luck may play a role, the sustained effort that comes from consistent action is what ultimately determines long-term success. Consistency is not glamorous or dramatic, but it is powerful and unstoppable when practiced steadily. Throughout life, consistency shapes skills, habits, mindset, and character. It turns small, repeated actions into mastery. It transforms ordinary routines into extraordinary results. It builds trust in relationships, credibility in professional life, strength in health, and resilience in facing obstacles. Those who embrace consistency understand that Success is not the outcome of a single effort, but the accumulation of countless small actions performed day after day. Reality of consistency is that it requires patience, discipline, and commitment. It asks a person to show up even when motivation fades, to continue even when progress seems slow, and to persist despite setbacks. It is a practice that strengthens the mind and body while gradually creating momentum that compounds over time. Each repeated action adds to a foundation that supports growth, achievement, and transformation. Consistency is also a teacher. It teaches perseverance through challenges, patience with progress, and the value of steady effort. It transforms identity as the actions repeated daily define who a person becomes. It is a force that turns dreams into plans, plans into actions, and actions into accomplishments in every domain of life: personal growth, career, health, relationships, or mastery of any skill. Consistency is the decisive factor separating those who achieve from those who only aspire. It is the principle that allows ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things through commitment and repeated effort. To embrace consistency is to embrace a way of life. It is to understand that every action matters, that every choice contributes to long-term results, and that persistence is more valuable than speed or intensity. It is to choose progress over perfection and steady effort over occasional brilliance. Ultimately, the power of consistency lies in its simplicity and universality. It is accessible to anyone willing to commit to daily effort. It is the secret behind all great accomplishments, not because it promises instant rewards, but because it guarantees growth for those who persist. Over time, it transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results and creates a life defined not by chance, but by deliberate, persistent, and consistent action. Consistency is not just a habit. It is a lifestyle, a mindset, a principle that, when embraced fully, becomes the foundation of success, fulfillment, and personal mastery. Those who understand its power do not wait for perfect conditions. They act daily, they persevere, they grow, and in doing so, they unlock the remarkable potential within themselves. The end.
Kindly subscribe to my channel.